And so what I did was to just set up some of the tools that we're going to go through, and we'll take a look at a hive that I haven't had a chance to do any work on. This was a gift hive that one of our customers, a benefactor, gave to another person who wanted to be a beekeeper, and then he got busy, and so he basically neglected the hive. So this is I don't even know what kind of class this is going to be. I think it's going to be a what not to do class. And so what I want to do that's kind of fun is I'm going to take some of these bars and just flip them upside down. So we'll take this whole hive and turn it upside down, and that way we can just kind of look at it as if we were looking inside. So what we're finding here is one of the big things when you use a center entrance is that come fall, you got to go in and take the two stores of honey and combine them on one side so that they aren't stuck eating their way this way and then finding that they have to be over here to eat their way this way. That cluster is only going to work one way, and when it does, if it runs out of honey, it'll starve. So there's very little honey anywhere along here. The only honey left is over on this side, and it looks like the cluster died right there. So just taking a bread knife, we can come in here and cut the cones off. And we'll put it all in here and render it. You can see how brittle it is in this cold weather. You can also see some of the differences. So this was drone comb. See how big it is? And there were some drone babies put into there. You see the size of those, the size of this compared to, here's a good example. Here's some comb that's both brood and drones. So see how smaller and bigger. So they were working some boys at some point in time. They probably swarmed at some point in time. They still have some of the pollen. So now we're getting into some honey on this side. So we'll take and break that part off. And this part we can save. The other stuff that we'll be able to go in and grab is some of this. And all I'm doing is just busting off the excess wax that's on it because we don't really need it. If you look closely at what's going on in here, there's also a lesson. If we look at their comb, there's brood comb, right? Because it's got brown in it. So babies have been born in here at least once or twice. Then it was turned into food comb. So this is all fermented honey and pollen of different sources, flower sources, so different colors. But one of the things is we break the pieces out. You see the little shells. So there's this lightweight, this stuff right here. So that's the larva skins from the birthing of the babies. So when they metamorphosize from a larva into a pupa, they, like a cocoon from a moth or from a caterpillar, they change into something, only instead of just shedding it, they glue it to the walls of the wax comb. And so this stuff is just glued on into here, and so we'll separate this out. So this is our pollens, this is our honeys, and we're nearing the end of what we want to grab here because we're starting to get a decent enough piece of straight comb that we can maybe harvest out. So there's a lot of pollen over here and some honey up here and pollen down here. So this might be worth saving. So what I'm going to do is to harvest this into the harvest box. So we take this off and drop it into here. This is something that was pulled off quite a long time ago, and you see it's got wax moths in it. So the telltale sign, this stuff is not spiders, these are moths that are in larva form, and they move around like caterpillars in there, leaving a wax trail. And they'll eat up the comb if given the chance. In the wild, bees like this because That's the bee's way of saying, I'm done with this comb and I need it out of the way. The wax moths come in, clean it all out, and then the bees can build new comb where there was old comb. But to us, we don't like it because they're taking away the stuff we could melt down and make salve out of. So if you leave your comb in a warm place too long, it'll attract those wax moths and they'll start to eat it all. But we're going to be able to just take it and render it. So it doesn't matter, once we cook it down, it'll all go away. So this one here, they got honey all the way up around it, but the trouble is it was such a small comb that the whole colony would have a tough time working its way through this. So this should have been moved to the back at one point in time. So we'll harvest this too. I'm just not going to grab it right now. That stuff we'll be able to harvest and sell or give away as honey in the comb. All right, here you can see there's where the colony was making its last efforts. This is the edge of the brood ball, and you can see the heater bees. So all those bees that went inside of here go head first into the comb and then dislocate their wings just enough to be able to vibrate or wiggle inside of the wax and heat the wax up to 92 degrees. So that this ball of wax and honey turns into like an electric blanket or a thermal blanket. And then the honey, which is like this here, takes a long time to cool, even in the cold, once they cook it up, heat it up to really warm. So it's a good way for them to spend the least amount of effort to heat that stuff up and let it just stay thermally good. So again, more honey here, a little bit of honey here, so we'll probably save these two as well.